Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this week's Metaworld News. Today we're going to be bringing you the highlights for the week ending the 15th of February, which just happens to be today.
Woo.
Although we do appreciate a few of you watch this in replay, in fact. My name is Mal Burns. That's MAL, the first word, and BURNS, the second word. But guess what? They've been all squashed together to make a Twitter account, which is twitter.com/Malburns, or one word, MALBURNS. And they do that with a lot of things. We have another Twitter account which is for MetaWorld News. And again, they've squashed the two into one. So twitter.com/MetaWorld News. The former is about all sorts of things to do with haptics, VR, virtual worlds interfacing. The second is more to do with social virtual worlds. And you'll find links to anything I discussed today in one or other of those feeds, most likely the Mark Burns feed. Here in the studio, I'm joined by James Atloud, who is twiddling knobs, pressing buttons, and looking at screens because he is helping me bring you my desktop and the virtual environments here to your screens on YouTube right now or in replay, depending. So, welcome, James.
Thank you, Mal. Maybe I should change my name to Mr. Twiddles. Mr.
Yes,
Twiddles.
Mr.
Good.
Twiddles. That is a good name for an
Yeah.
avatar.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yes, yeah. Picture the Second Life Teen Grid isn't going anymore, eh?
Yeah, right.
You could be
Here
Boy
comes the
Twiddles.
math instructor. It's Mr. Twiddles.
Yes, you could be Boy Twiddles. No, you'd be Boy Twiddles. And then the guy at the front of the class will slap his cane and say, "Oi, Twiddles, stop twiddling."
We've got it all
Yeah,
planned out. It's good.
yeah. Ad libbing. Okay, lovely. So it is the 15th of that month. Which one was it? March, yes,
Hmm.
2020. And I'm starting with the headlines. Well, I'm starting with some headlines, which are those you will find on the Mal Burns feed at Twitter. So, without further ado, I'm going to put the extended picture display away. At the moment, you might just be seeing a rather lovely picture of a seal who looks so damn friendly. Look at his hand, or his paw, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. Anyway, that's my soppy moment of the day. Here we
Nice.
go. Right, this is a simple shot of a site www.vr sorry, vrarglobalsummit.com. So VRAR Global Summit is all one word.com. And it's an online conference happening on June 1st to the 3rd. Now, this is strictly a professional affair, I think. They're advertising quite a lot of stuff here. And you do need to actually register for this. And I've got a feeling they actually charge you quite a lot of money. But if you go to this site, you can click on I want to participate, and then, I don't know, say you want to volunteer for and get there for free. 100 plus speakers. Since it hasn't happened yet, I don't know where they're getting 10,000 attendees from. 80 plus virtual rooms, thousands of interactive one on ones, and 50,000 registered professionals with VRARA globally. Blah, blah. And it's brought to you by the AR/VR Association. They are quite big, actually, connecting the best virtual reality and augmented reality solution providers with the enterprise and entertainment companies. They are, I think, the people that host the working groups on some of the actual interop standards. But I might be wrong. It doesn't take much for a company to call itself the AR/VR something these
Mm-hmm.
days. Association. Um, yeah, so why attend and all the rest of it. Good timing for them, I think. I believe this is actually an event that was going to happen anyway, regardless of the fact that nowadays it almost needs to be. So anyway, that is vrarglobalsummit.com. And yeah, let's here we are. Move to another site here. Okay, this site is a site called borntoinvest.com. Yeah, investor's site, really, I suppose. BORN, and then the numeral T, and then INVEST. Born to Invest, but squashed together all as one, and it's a .com. And Born to Invest, Save, Invest, Prosper. And I think this is another. We had a site last week which seemed to have a load of cannabis things on it. And this has got biotech, fintech, cannabis, and crypto as its departments. So go figure. Right. Why do you expect AR, VR, MR, in other words XR, and this company in particular to take off faster than Elon Musk's Crew Dragon? Okay, and of course the answer is because there's a virus came round and we're going to have to
Hmm.
do AR, VR, MR, XR, etc., etc. And Elon Musk is not bothered because the virus is not actually in orbit yet. Well, it might be if he if he's not careful. Okay, so there was a fascinating blog during the week about sort of what would happen if the shuttle gets up to the International Space Station and takes the virus with it. Don't want to know, do we really?
No, no.
Right, okay, stating the obvious, of course. It's been on tear since long before the spread of the virus, and hitting new notes in late 19 and early this year, and blah, 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 blah. Um, this is a telling thing. I don't know whether this prediction or this information is right. A picture speaking a thousand words. Compelling visual representation illustrates the growing demand for engineering talent across a variety of fields. ARV engineer percentage growth of is 1,400, and the nearest next one down, gaming engineer, is actually only 160. Sorry, 146. And let me see, things like blockchain engineers are down to 9%. So when it comes to the demand for engineering job, then AR and VR is um, it dwarfs the second highest in demand field by almost 10 to 1. So blah, blah, blah. Lots of facts and figures there. So yeah, a fair old bit to read there too, and a couple of embedded videos to look at as well. So if you want to read that, you need to go to Born to Invest, all one word, and where the two is a numeral, .com, and read all about that one, as it were, indeed. Right, let's put that one away and move on. This is site www.
Mm-hmm.
Inputmag.com. So it's INPUTMAG.com. And this guy says, these are his words, it's an opinionated, by the way. Look, augmented opinion. So it's opinionating like me, but his opinionating is augmented, apparently. I'm not quite sure how, but never mind.
Mm-hmm.
I use Magic Leap's AR headsets, and I can tell you exactly why the company is for sale. Well, um, there's 1,000 posts this week about the fact that Magic Leap is apparently now up for sale. Um, in other words, so they're not selling in the tower; they're trying to sell themselves. But the asking price apparently is something that people they're trying to get over 10 billion US dollars for the company. Most people will say, "You've got to be kidding," you know.
Seems in
Um,
line with the profile of what they've done so far.
well, yes, exactly, and sort of, it's sort of, the only things that cost that much these days are toilet rolls, So it's a big ask that is. Anyway, this opinion says here's why the startup was doomed from the start, and basically it's a little flashback on what they had going for them, what they didn't, and what it was all about, and the headset sucked apparently. Apparently, they're very impressed by Madifier, which is a comic book reader, multimedia comic book reader in there. But some of the rest of it wasn't much at all. So read about that at www.inputmag.com. Right, let's put that one away. Okay, good old Forbes, right? A couple from Forbes in a row here. If I remember rightly. The other one's further back, I think. This week in XR, you see, they're clever. They don't do AR, VR, blah, blah, blah. They just say XR nowadays. Is this VR's moment? Charlie Fink writing again. I think he writes most of their VR related articles, to be honest. He previously wrote about taking the stage as conferences cancel, etc., etc. And yeah, they're basically 3 years ago in this very column, we said VR is waiting for its AOL moment. And right, well, maybe this is it because one thing I'm getting very annoyed about, by the way, I will do a very quick, what do we call it here? I have it already, but I don't know where.
An editorial, perhaps?
I had something already and I can't remember where I put it.
Mm.
Right, for broadcast. Yes, here we are. So, a brief diversion. Here we go. Dun, 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 dun.
Haha.
Enough talking about it. I thought I'd better have a little picture up. This is actually a game called Down the Rabbit Hole,
Yeah,
a
it's coming out
VR
for
game.
Quest. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, my rabbiting in from the hole. A rabbit. Here it is. A rabbit from the hole. Yes, that's what it is. Good. Um, right. All this week, I have been reading about how VR is going to be the savior of the workplace and entertainment because you can't go out of your house anymore. So we've got it here, um, and implying that the whole thing is very simple. But as well, we have discussed this in previous weeks by inference, not an actual discussion. The problem is, half the time you read these things like now, when they say VR, they are talking about, places you experience in headsets, some of which, but not all of which, are actually single screen compatible. And if we are all stuck at home trying to do stuff, in the current situation, then I'm reading articles about using Slack and using Discord and connecting them together and all the sort of stuff I do anyway. Um, and but when it comes to the virtual meetings thing, and everybody's promoting VR. There is one blog up here. I forget whether I've loaded it for today. I think it's 26 ways to use VR for work when you're stuck at home. And not one of them is actually what I would call a social world per se. They are all things that require a headset. And I know I know the Oculus Go is what you might consider reasonably cheap, but quite frankly, if you're stuck at home and you can't even go out shopping, how many of the people that they're trying to pitch this to actually have headsets? I suspect very few of them. Um, then you may be stuck at home with a virus or alert or something, but can you even go out shopping to get a VR headset? And would you want to if you could? Because they're far from cheap. It's not exactly the easiest accessible thing. What actually astonishes me is that people like Linden Labs, Second Life, and ScienceBase with ScienceBase aren't actually doing big publicity campaigns along the lines of come in here and use this for work. Because those are actually things that ScienceBase you can actually get to on the web just as you can with 3D rooms and various other things. But also, even if you need a standalone client for like Linden Labs and SciSpace, you can, they all work on your normal screens. And we've been doing this stuff for 15 years. There are masses of things like TeamSpeak and all sorts of things out there that offer you different sort of ideas for virtual meetings and virtual web places. I remember one which was surprisingly effective. Though I didn't like it because it was boring, but it was basically you had an aerial plan like a CAD drawing. So it wasn't CAD; it was just like a map from above, and you walked your icon around into one room and out of a room along a corridor to another or to a water cooler, and every time you entered a new room, you didn't see anything, but the system registered you in a new room and it connected you with the people in that room. And you sometimes saw a little icon, whereas if you press the icon, you got like a PowerPoint show or something which accompanied the speaker in that room. But very rudimentary, but just all on the web and downright easy. There were no complicated things to learn, and anybody who's ever looked at a drawing of a room plan, that's all the metaphor you need. I'm not recommending that one, but I'm using an example, to indicate things that are actually out there and available, and that, to be in a 3D space with other people does not require going out and buying a headset and or subscribing to Steams and Oculus Plays and all the rest of it. Even the Oculus Go, which is the cheaper option, half the apps you pay for. I mean, it's not particularly comfortable either, even if you have got the kit. So I would actually really like to see more people, blogs, shows like this or whatever, actually commenting on social virtual worlds, or indeed virtual worlds, maybe business virtual worlds or entertainment virtual worlds. But the idea of virtual worlds that you can see on a normal computer screen, maybe even on your phone, but preferably on a normal computer screen. Anyway, that's a bit of the opinionating for now, and so I'm going to put that layer away and go back to what was I talking about? Yeah. So this is
Okay.
for
Yep.
Forbes Week in XR. This is VR's moment. And they are again talking about all the things that you can do. This is because of the virus and everything else. This is the time, and Facebook is alpha testing. Varjo's got stuff going, and they're talking about everything they can come up with. But the emphasis is on haptics in helmets, as I call them. Yeah, that's a good phrase. Haptics in helmets. Um, and I think we need to see more. Well, they do mention Zoom and Google Hangouts and things like that. In fact, this particular article isn't actually too bad at all in that regard. But lots of the other articles I've been seeing this week, of which there are many, have of course been focusing on VR as in the technology as opposed to the hardware as opposed to the software platforms. Anyway, moving on. As soon as I can. Tell my notifications to move to do not disturb. Thank you. Right, okay, closing that one. Right, this is a post from the British Council, which not surprisingly is over here in Britain. This is dated October 2019. It's actually written by a chap called Graham Stanley, who always in Second Life for a long while. He's been on my Twitter, connections for about over a decade, I think. I guess I think he actually works for the British Council. But he had a book out called Remote Teaching, on the education side of things, and he posted this. Well, it's dated 9th of October. He basically reposted this as a link because of the present concern about doing stuff remotely. And basically some ideas as to where you use your screen presence. Don't just be a talking head. Use gestures, facial expressions. Use your voice. Minimize distractions. Take yourself off screen now and again. Be familiar with technology. Prepared to troubleshoot. Yes, yes, yes. Or the checklist of things to do. So you want to go to www.britishcouncil, spelled like the logo in the top left there. So britishcouncil.org, O-R-G, www.britishcouncil, one word, .org. And you can read about that too. You might want to get it from from Malburn's Twitter, simply because of the date of the post. But if you go the long way around, just remember 9th of October 2019, last year. It's not that old a post, but it's not current. Right. Readwrite.com. That's read and write, all squashed together as one word, just like reading and writing, but readwrite.com. And how long before VR is commonplace? Again, the same questions we've been getting all week from all over the place. Pardon my cough. Hopefully, it has nothing to do with the lurgy. I'm just a sip of caffeine. There we go. More dry throat than anything else, I think. Right. So, how long before VR is commonplace? Well, one of the great sides of this, you can't say it's a great side to this virus thing, but I mean, I think some things are going to be going on for a long while, and we are actually whereas environmental change, everybody tends to think, oh, well, yeah, well, I'll make an effort, but not blah, 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 blah. When you're actually forced to stay in your own home and work remotely and cope with changes in supply chains and, collapsing economies and stuff like that, then it's almost like you're in a new world. And if this doesn't clear itself up pretty quick, I think ultimately it will be a new world even when it's over. But one of the plus sides is maybe people will finally start relocalizing a bit more, will learn to communicate a bit more, and and take advantage of technology and things like that. Um, so this blog actually asks how long before VR is commonplace, and of course the swing of um, headsets are in the world. VR is a bit of a novelty. Most households don't own a VR headset, and VR content remains mostly limited to video games. Blah blah blah. Um, but what would it take to make it commonplace? And possibly being a tool that people can go and buy when they're having to work at home. That may be the answer. On the other hand, it may not. What's holding it back? Well, cost, technical optimization, VR knockoffs, nausea, lackluster content, and speculation on future generations. So again, and despite its motives, another blog that is just considers VR to be that damned headset, not necessarily a virtual environment per se. Anyway, moving on. That, as I say, readwrite.com. Now, this is a bit unusual for us. We uh, Normally anything to do with Second Life at all would be in Malbone's writers feed, but they actually released this during the week. Um, Basically, Second Life have announced that they're expanding support and reducing prices for education and non-profits. Now, apparently, this was written by a chap called Patch Linden, who I actually have to interview in about 10 days' time for the Virtual World's Best Practices conference. We have an hour long, so one to one above the book session. Um, it's easy for me to become cynical and think, oh, well, there's no posts on secondlife.com at the moment about, hey, come to Second Life, now you're stuck at home, we can provide a place for you to work, play, and everything else. Um, but they have announced reducing prices for education and non-profits, and I am cynical. Let's face it. Maybe I should just wait till I talk to Batch Linden. But I wonder if it's a coincidence that this announcement comes out a week before the virtual best practices in education conference happens in Second Life. It does mean that they can turn up, and I ask the question, what's new at Second Life? Which is the theme of the talk. And Patch will answer, well, we're expanding support and reducing prices for education and non-profits. There's a lot to talk about for an hour. Uh, anyway, forgive I'm going to shut up or they'll refuse to come and talk to me. Um, Anyway, remote work redefined. So they're doing their bit, but it's not something I see outwardly publicized. I mean, I only got this link because it comes through one of my feeds to do with Second Life. But nevertheless, for educators who still use Second Life, um, and well. Um, a good thing. I mean, Rockcliffe University, who are heavily connected with the virtual world's best practices, they're a kind of web only, virtual world only establishment. And obviously, of course, when they put on classes and events like that, they're often searching for an audience, and so the people that can come to things actually can come from that huge microcosm of the population that already inhabits Second Life. If they were a more specific institution that was going out there trying to find users and stuff like that, they would be much better off using something like Open Simulator, which is damn sight cheaper too. But when you actually have what is a totally in-world thing and is not obtaining its students or whatever from outside the virtual world, then Second Life still remains an option because there are so many residents of Second Life. You might turn up to a concert, start chatting to somebody and says, God, I wish I knew how to sew properly. And then you say, oh, well, we've got a class on how to sew. You get the idea, right? Okay, so good news for education and non-profits in Second Life. Though the exact figures, I don't think were actually mentioned. It's more or less how can we help you, who you should contact, etc., etc. Anyway, I'm putting that away. Right. This is a post at medium.com, and you'll be glad to hear it's not one that demands you enter their paywall. At least it hasn't for me yet. Maybe I'm still early in the month and I've got a few clicks left. Um, this is a running list of conferences going virtual due to the coronavirus health concerns. And well, this is particularly relevant whether they are going virtual as in headset land or whether they're actually going virtual as in just online. Well, it depends on the ones you get. But here you go, you've got March 10th, March 12th, March 13th. There's a whole load of stuff here that has basically been cancelled in the real world and has now moved to being an online or supposedly virtual inverted commas event. And look, we're still on March, and look at all this stuff. There's a hell of a lot listed there. Um, it obviously doesn't miss list. Well, I didn't say obviously. It doesn't appear to list any that are actually entirely virtual by tradition, like the VWBPE in a couple of weeks. But there's a hell of a lot, as you can see, listed there. So you want medium.com, and I'm going to give you, again, go to my Twitter feed to click through direct, but the slash followed by the at symbol, followed by production Andy Fidel. Um, but again, I think hopefully if you get a medium, you'll just be able to look something like this up. After all, it's a sort of headline list really rather than an article. So checking, worth checking out there, by the way. And come to think of it, I've got another picture for you very briefly. I'm simply ashamed this because we mentioned this. It's happened a few weeks ago now. It was Educators event that happened strictly in VR, and it was in Alt Space VR. But actually, this is halfway decent picture I was able to obtain, which actually shows well, it's not exactly a huge crowd by real life standards, but basically the crowd of educators in the audience, and then the educators giving a talk on stage, and this was the panel in question. No comfy seats or anything like that, but who needs seats really? Apparently, as we heard last week on the InWell Review, apparently the Best Practices in Education conference is doing away with seats this year, mostly because it's in the sky or something. I haven't yet had a chance to recce the venue, as they say. Anyway, that's medium.com and a running list of conferences going on there. Right, moving on again a little bit. We are on roadtovr.com, another regular site. And I did mention that several sites, I think, have published more or less the same article here. Of course, they all seem to include the magic number of 26 apps. 26 VR apps for remote work, education, training, design, review, and more. And guess what? They are VR type apps, as you can see from the pretty pictures, but almost all of them, once again, require headsets to actually use in any sane way. Um, Useful to know. Useful list here. I'm not going to make fun of the list itself. It's a good idea to have that list, but I would rather have 26 virtual environments that you can use on a 2D screen, whilst you're stuck, you know, for going out. You cannot assume that more than about 1% of people have actually got a VR headset already. So if you want to take the opportunity of the virus calamity to, promote your service online, do not pitch things that are require headsets only. Basically, not a good idea in my opinion. But I am biased and I am opinionated and everything else.
And the
Um,
magazine is Road to VR. The website is Road to VR. So.
oh, sorry, I forgot that. I gone and closed it, didn't I? Yes, it's road to the letters TO VR or one word road to VR.com. And thank you, James. So
Hmm.
do occasionally do that, and then I have to go and try and reload the tab from wherever it came from. Right, okay. Thank you for that. That
Hmm.
helps a lot. I was just thinking, oh God, did I, did I or didn't I?
Well, and also the point being that they're only showing VR sites because their editorial focus is virtual reality,
Um,
as opposed to working in virtual worlds.
True. Although
It's
voices,
that VR, XR, AR, PR, GR, TR.
it is. I
Yeah.
mean, most VR I've followed for quite a long while because they do actually cover things beyond the hardware VR space. So
Mm.
they've covered Linden Labs and Science Space and High Fidelity and things. Which are things that don't necessarily need the VR thing. Um, But these days, there's so much going on. I mean, sites like that, the journalists at those sites really just probably have a whole load of stuff coming in, and they will be pitching the heavyweight hardware
Yeah.
requirements.
Yep.
And that basically there are thousands of websites out there, but there aren't any very good ones that specialize in simply virtual spaces. It's all games or particular workplaces or hardware. Um, you know, um, the closest thing to get to it is why the OpenSim directory is, which features whole loads of regions and worlds like the one we're in here, which all happen to be interconnected as a rule. But that's but that's only a small subset of the 2D virtual worlds that are available. If you want to go in on a computer. Um, there's OpenSim here, Second Life, and ScienceSpace. I would say at the moment those are the three to be looking out for. High Fidelity is technically gone, but if you still have the viewer installed, you can actually use it to get at a number of independent things now beginning to come online using their code. Um, but it remains to be seen, how many people, um, you know, um, take that up. I mean, the interfaces for High Fidelity, for example, will be fairly radically changed as time goes by, and the people working on Tivoli and others may in fact make it more attractive than the original High Fidelity one, and that may encourage more people to come along. But they're not there yet. So, if you want a room to meet, go to Mozilla Hubs, which you can get on the web and create one quickly, or you can go to web, well, 3D rooms on the web as well and create something quickly, or you can go in OpenSim, or you can go in Second Life, or you can go in ScienceSpace, depending on your requirements. So there is stuff easily available out there, despite the headset requirements of most of the articles we come across here. Talking of technical stuff, this is a post at vrfocus.com. Unity, which is the authoring software that well, it's the big authoring software for um, anything games, virtual worlds, you name it, anything 3D basically. The only competitor really is the Unreal Engine from Epic Games. And Unity here by Unity Technologies. Unity are making their high definition render pipeline compatible, allowing photorealistic results. I'm not in. You'd have to read this to kind of make sense of it or be a Unity user, but I think it actually mean. I think what it means is that the pipeline that Unity use for rendering high definition content may be made available outside of the Unity authoring environment. So, I mean, it doesn't say so, but I mean, at first I thought it was saying that the Unreal Engine will now be able to use Unity's pipeline or whatever. But I'm not really tech enough on this front, so I suggest if you're interested in this high definition rendering, you would just read this article. But it's at vrfocus.com. And as you can see, March 13th, just a few days ago, this was put online. So moving on. The Ghost Holes. Yes, great name for cite this, the ghost howls. Right. First one, how Mozilla is working on privacy safe immersive web of the future. Um, we've talked about Mozilla Hubs before. In fact, we had a chat at the Open Sim Community Conference with one of them. Um, basically, this is an interview with somebody called Lars Bergstrom, a smart professional with the mixed reality team at Mozilla, working every day to improve the WebXR platform, working for immersive web, future immersive web that preserves our privacy and doesn't clutter us with banners and fake news. Yay! Right on. There he is. And yeah, basically, it's a sort of a mini interview with him. What they want to be doing, what they are doing. A few examples there, for example. Um, this is all on the web, although obviously, just because it's on the web doesn't actually mean you can't use a headset. Of course, some things on the web are also designed for headsets, but I think most of the time you'll find most things on the web are things that load at least as a normal web page. So you will find this at scarredghost.com. Now I'm going to spell that because it's an odd spelling. It's SKARRED GHOST. So it's a K where you'd normally think of a C. Scarred Ghost, or one word, .com. Right, moving on. We have a lot of tabs up here today, so I'm a bit impatient sounding. Right, this is the Daily Telegraph, or the Telegraph as it's now known, telegraph.co.uk. This is another one that's normally behind a firewall, but at the moment it seems to be being generous. Either that or I've got through some method or other. This is referring, NHS is not Homeland Security in the States there, it's actual National Health Service here in Britain. They're deploying virtual reality therapy in the battle against mental illness. Nothing to do with the current virus illness. This is a different thing where they're guiding patients through a virtual world that mimics reality, allowing to trying new things safely. And it's a spin out from OVR at Oxford University. Um, and oh yes, actually, I do have to pay to get into the rest of the article. Fair enough. I knew that. I knew that was coming. Anyway, you want telegraph.co.uk for that one. All right, moving on. We got another article again by Charlie Fink at Forbes. So you want Forbes.com, FORBES.com. And virtual reality takes the stage as conferences cancelled. It all started with the cancellation of the Mobile World Congress, which seems like a couple of months ago now. Then GDC, then SXSW, then Coachella and E3 followed suit. Biogen in Boston had an exposure who come from overseas, so now everybody else wants. And yeah, even Google don't want their employees going into the office anymore, even if it's only across town. They're all working from home. Um, uh, oh, I didn't know this. This is worth a little quote. I'm going to quote this to you. The Chinese used two brushstrokes to write the word crisis. President John F. Kennedy famously said, one brushstroke stands for danger, the other for opportunity. In a crisis, beware of the danger, but recognize the opportunity. So they then go on to say this crisis is good for VR because we need to be apart, but we want to be together, and people are the killer app. That says it all, really. Another screenshot of educators in VR, slightly smaller audience for whatever was going on at that time. And anyway, a general look at why it's all important that we have all this stuff. That you start. You've been hearing people like me go on about this for years and years and years. Well, now is the time to get off your ass and actually get involved because you're going to have to if you're sitting at home all day. And yeah, I'm get off your ass. I say I was going to make some rude remark about toilet paper, but I think we'll leave
Oh,
that.
No, no.
We'll leave
Don't
that
need
for
to do
another
that one,
day.
right?
Not again, not again, yeah. Okay, this is a site called EurekaAlert.org. That's EUREKALERT.org. And a news release on the 11th of March, virtual reality shows promise for early detection of MS balance problems. Another medical report here from the University of North Carolina. MS is, of course, multiple sclerosis, and it's one of these, lesser covered in some ways, awful sort of problem for people, especially getting old. You have a greater risk of falling and injuring yourself, basically. And they've got using virtuality to detect those problems early, basically, so they can sense, what people are doing and whether they're falling away. Not actually falling over, if you understand what I mean, but falling of course, where it might fall over. But anyway, it's interesting there. The other thing is, I mean, the people that are campaigning for, well, in Britain here at least, for cannabis legislation. We don't have it as we do in the States. It's still illegal everywhere. But one of the main people trying to get the legal stuff available is the uh, petitioning societies for multiple sclerosis sufferers. So I actually have a feeling that over and beyond this balancing thing, VR might very well be a kind of therapeutic thing for sufferers anyway, over and beyond this particular um, sort of pitch. Right. So that says EurekaAlert.org. Right. Let me see. WH. No, that is not WT. Oh, I
Nice
hate you.
try.
I
Right.
hate. I hate. I was about to say what the.
Mm-hmm.
Right. WFH. The past 20 years plus metaverse. Anyone? I don't know what WFH. I'll have to ask him.
How about work from
Um.
home? But I don't think that's what it is.
Oh, yes, it could be. Right. This is Feeding Edge Limited. This is written by our friend Ian Hughes. In Second Life, he's known as the Predator, and he writes science fiction novels now as the Predator too. But I first met him years ago when he was still working for IBM, and he left IBM 11 years ago and started his own sort of company from home called Feeding Edge. And he's just with all the stuff, he's pretty active in. Oh, hang on, I need to click I'm here to tell the platform we're broadcasting from. Thank you. You will not be disconnected.
Oh
Oh,
no. Oh, we should
right.
probably.
No, no, no. I got a blue box telling me to confirm I'm still here. And when I
Oh,
confirm I'm
that's
still here,
new.
it says thank you. You will no longer be disconnected. So basically I've just got to. I haven't got eyes in the back of my head, so I need to look around at the virtual world now and again to see if I got a message. Right. Oh dear. So what's going on here? All right. Right.
Is this about Kitely or is this about Screen Leap? The notification.
No, it's about Firestorm and kindly. Oh yeah, kindly. Yeah,
So should
kindly.
we
Yeah.
stand up, or do you think
No,
just
it
looking
doesn't. It
around is
didn't.
enough?
It didn't need to. As soon as I confirmed it, it says, "Okay, you won't be disconnected."
Oh. Oh.
But
Well.
I don't normally see that because I'm not
Mm,
looking until the
oh,
screen.
I understand. Okay.
Normally, when I turn around to look, the screen's gone grey and I'm already out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Usually because you told me I vanished. Yeah.
Right.
But I just happened to see it this time around and managed to abort the auto
The
logout thing.
eviction. The virtual eviction.
Yes, the eviction notice. Yes, I told it. I'm still here. I'm squatting.
All
Don't
right.
evict me. Be you to go off. Right. Anyway, I was just talking about Ian Hughes, the Predator, whose blog this says. Um, Basically, he's looking at the past 20 or so years of his. He used to be known. He's one of the first people who was known as a metaverse evangelist too, even back when he was. That was, I think, at one point his title. Yeah, I think when he was at IBM. in the later years of being at IBM, his official job position was metaverse evangelist. This is back when IBM were in Second Life, and um, I mean, some of the projects he did with them, for example, is the Wimbledon tennis finals. They have special sensors at the Wimbledon courts in real life, and they were able to bring the Wimbledon championships into Second Life. With it wasn't motion capture kit, but basically the actions of the avatars were synced to the actions of the players on court. So if a player raised their hand and put the racket to the right and hit the ball, and the ball went to the left, that would be replicated in Second Life a few seconds, microseconds after it happened for real. So they were doing projects like that back then. So basically, I must get in on for a chat, maybe on an in-world review one day soon. But basically, it's looking back on 20 years, even though I've guessed it's only about 15 years since the metaverse stuff. Um, yeah, he starts in 97, early days. Well, it wasn't quite the early days of the web, but yeah, before virtual worlds. Um, we did not face a big bang switchover from office at home. Um, what was that? Oh, I'm not. I'll be here all day if I paraphrase it or try and read the whole thing out. But great guy, by the way. So do check this out. The address you want is www dot feeding edge, or one word. So well, FEEDingedge.co.uk. So www.feedingedge.co.uk, and read about that. Okay, now talking of which, after last week's news, we actually had a broadcast of an edition of the In World Review. We were talking with Kevin Feenan about this year's Virtual World's Best Practices in Education conference. Um, this post on March the 7th is simply there's a link here where you can get to the agenda anyway. Um, Basically, telling us about the keynote speakers. Dr. Robert Furman on Thursday, Dr. Michael Thomas on Friday, and the, well, there's a double one on Saturday. In other words, it's a Saturday keynote, but the keynote features two actual people, um, uh, Daniel D. Bronsky Bryant and Lorelli Van Vossen. Mm, don't know what national. It sounds Dutch actually, but who knows? Who knows? It doesn't matter anyway. All this and more, basically, vwbpe.org is what you want. That's about the keynote speakers. And if you actually go to the program on the tab at the top there, as I'm about to do, um, this is a very slow site I happen to add. It takes a very long while to load, I'm afraid. Right, I've been noticing this all week. Then you've actually got a complete list of events too, and those three keynotes will almost certainly be broadcast. In fact, I think we will be handling that. There's also two editions of a program, one-to-one interview program called Above the Book, which I will actually be hosting this year, and they'll be filmed and broadcast too. I suspect almost everything will be filmed and broadcast one way or the other by their team of volunteers. But more about that maybe next week, because it starts literally in 10 days' time now. Not this coming Thursday, but the Thursday after. Right, putting that away for now. Back to Forbes yet again. Www.forbes.com, Forbes.com. Is virtual reality the solution to the impact coronavirus is having on the events industry? And this is a different writer this time. This is somebody called Sol Rogers, who's a contributing writer on consumer tech. And saying how the virus doesn't actually have to bring the industry to a halt because virtual reality VR offers a solution to the travel bans companies all over the world are being faced and are being imposed by gatherings. Um, But yet again, what comes first? HTC. Yes, that's HTC Vive, the headsets. Their conference is normally held in China. It's not surprised they're going online this year. Um, but that will be happening in Engage, which actually Engage is one of the better platforms there. Though I'm not. I think you might be able to get into Engage on a 2D screen, so it might be worth having a little bit more investigation with them. Anyway, Future Lands presented a. Oh, yeah, Future Lands actually is an event that already happened in High Fidelity. So, yeah, that was put on by Philip. Okay. So, Forbes.com, Forbes.com, and that's where you'll find that article. Right, virtual reality reporter.com. So virtual reality reporter, three words that are actually words, no shortening to VR or anything required. Virtual reality reporter.com, and this article is simply about something called immersion, as in immersion. Get it? I didn't at first, actually. I thought, what a funny name. Then I realised.
Yes,
Okay,
very
immersion.
funny.
Yeah, Mershon partners with Emphatic Workplace to create a virtual custom virtual reality world. Um, so Mershon exists and they're partnering with Emphatic Workplace. This is full of great little names, isn't it? They're going to create a custom virtual reality platform Emphatic. So I think the full title of what they're creating is Platform Emphatic, one word, Workplace. Well, yeah, here we are. Emphatic workplace. Oh, God knows. They don't seem to know themselves, do they? I think there's some typos or missing spaces in this write-up, actually. Um, anyway, meaningful partnership adds virtual reality simulations to a dynamic method of learning about including more compassionate behaviors. Powered by a blend of artificial and human intelligence, Immersion delivers real time simulations that call for learners to be fully present in the moment. This realism offers a scalable and tailored experience for companies who want to enable and exercise skills such as the empathy driven practices designed by Emphatic Workplace and transform them into daily behaviors. Simulations engage emotional, cognitive, and behavioral faculties. Uh, yeah, faculties for transformative ongoing learning that is also scalable, consistent, and cost effective. That sounds like a really overdone press release, doesn't it? um, read that, play it back in slow motion, please. I didn't quite catch all those words. Anyway, quite interesting this is. So, if you want to, yeah, media contacts there, find out more about Mission and this thing they're doing at virtualrealityreporter.com. Virtual Reality Reporter, three words squashed into one, as it were. Moving on. Right, this is Wired magazine. I think we all know that. And this link points to www.wired.com. And guess what the name is? Yet again, amid Caravanosphere, startups rethink the virtual conference. A new group of companies are trying to recreate the experience online, hotel cocktails not included. And I hate that blasted picture. The only thing worse than that picture is the one that's actually looking the other direction at some conference and shows Zuckerberg walking down like Hitler down the thing. And he's the only one in the room not wearing a headset. Everybody else has got a helmet on, like, um, Star Wars stormtroopers or something. Uh, anyway, it's just something so zombie-like to pictures like that. Anyway, sometimes you end up in conference where they're like that. Um, yeah, nothing highly illustrated here. Just a long take on what's going on, and the idea has been there are startups around who are rethinking the experience. Hopefully, as I've now said too many times on this program, hopefully some of them will not just be rethinking an experience that involves a headset that only 1% of the population have. Right, moving on. Um, this is www.nature.com. And the title of well, it's academic paper really. Seeing other perspectives, evaluating the use of virtual and augmented reality to simulate visual impairments. Open Viz Sim, and yep, you've got an well, summary introduction. I think we've got the whole piece here. I have not read this fully. It's too specialized for me, but it's certainly relevant to those of you who need to know about visual mobility and stuff like that. So, you want to go to nature.com, and you're best to follow this from my Twitter feed, twitter.com/malbones, because it's under articles and then it's got a code number, which is, like a lots of numbers and letters, basically. You can get the download. You can download the PDF of this as well when you get there as well, if it's something that you open it. It's published on 10th of March, which is 5 days ago, so it's very current. That research. Okay, moving on. This is a site called venturebeat.com. That's a venture, well, VENTUREBEAT.com. And this is the Games Beat Summit for 2020. And this is happening in April 28th to 29th at the 2-Bit Circus in Los Angeles. Now, whether it will still happen, this is not, as far as I know, one that has moved virtual yet. I guess they have about a month and a half before it's meant to actually happen. Um, but we will see. Right, okay, the article. Promethean AI lets neophytes use their voice to create amazing game environments in minutes. What middles? What am I talking about? Right. Actually, let me bookmark that while I'm at it. There we are. Okay. Promethean enables people with no programming or digital art experience to create some amazing game environments using their voice. And they got a video to prove it. Students had to wear virtual reality headsets. Guess what? And use his own software. The author that is, which automatically generates art. So I'm not quite sure how you would do it. Apparently, you can do things like say, "Build me a '70s bedroom," and it does. It will do it for you, complete with posters of the Bee Gees, and say turn the table sideways or move the desk, it will do so for you. It taps artificial intelligence to help human artists create art for video games. Then the humans can customize the art as needed. And you can even say, suggest variations. So I'd actually love to play with this. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure which headset you need, and everything else. But great idea. I mean, just imagine we come into the studio here and to do our show, and in the brief 2 minutes before we go on air, I say, repaint that bloody
Yeah,
desk.
that'd be great.
Oh, repair my logo.
Mm-hmm.
stick stick it right way up instead of upside down. Right.
Restore my camera presets.
Yeah, change the color of the band on my hat.
Right.
Find me a bloody pair of shades, or make me a pair of shades. Even
Yeah,
better.
you don't
You
have
get the
those
idea.
yet. Where are those
Yes,
shades?
exactly. Yeah, we still haven't found those. Right. Okay. So actually, I go to venturebeat.com for this article. I actually quite like the sound of this. Whether it comes to much will be integrated into um, um,
Production,
platforms
full release.
we yeah
Yep.
well, I don't think it's a platform in itself. Presumably it is. I don't know. Maybe it is an environment in itself that isn't compatible with other things. You can only generate in it, or it could be a plugin that might work with something like OpenSim or Second Life. I really don't know, but I love the idea. So venturebeat.com for that one. Right, back to Wired again. VR was supposed to help us work remotely. So where the is it? The expletive deleted I put in there.
Mm-hmm.
Right, shuttered offices, social isolation, working from home was supposed to be great, but only thing worse than the conference room is conference calls. We were promised avatars. It seems silly, I know, as we sit here contemplating how many systems are failing us during the epidemic, to focus on the failures of virtual reality. Even in the San Francisco Bay Area, office lights are winking out by one as businesses and employees go home. Everyone's talking about Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and Hangouts, plus, of course, Slack and the obvious 2D stuff, and even Skype for that matter. That is not what I call virtual presence, that's video calling. Thank you very much. Um, a few short years ago, Tech News was full of stories of how VR was going to transform work. This was really before headsets he's talking about. We do this with collaborative whiteboarding in virtual conference rooms. Our avatars would interact germlessly, but seamlessly. There we go. That's a good phrase for the week. Germless, but seamless. Right. And somehow, incredibly, with real presence, virtual meetings would be as good as face-to-face ones, except your eye rolls and grimaces would happen in your home as a heavy headset slid down your sweaty nose. Oh, so they are going for headsets now. Okay, interesting article though. Yeah, you will realise that all the articles this week, and there have been a lot of them, they all say, not all of them, but a vast majority are along this common theme. And I could sit here and just talk about it myself, but better you've got a choice of different articles to read, I think. Get a more balanced view, but it obviously is a very serious situation we're in now. Okay, this is virtualrealityreporter.com again. Springboard VR launches into the education market with a content bundle designed to make virtual reality easier and more accessible for schools. They're a provider of VR venue management, content distribution infrastructure for location based entertainment. Um, the only problem here is that VR or not, location based entertainment is also under threat from the virus. In other words, you're
Indeed.
not going to go
Right.
to a school and strap on headsets. In fact, if anything, you would be scared. You really don't want to go to an out of home VR establishment right now, even in a school or business. Uh, they are things that have made virtual reality take off beyond gamers. In other words, sort of, venues being set up with headsets and big walk around shooting spaces and stuff like that. It was a trend that was sort of keeping the interest in VR alive, rather than mainstream couch potatoes. But the thing is the hygiene, right? You have almost certainly, wherever you live in the world, been told the first thing you want to be doing is washing your hands a lot, but also the moment you come indoors because of what you might have been touching while you're out there. Avoid touching your face, but particularly just wash those hands. You can probably touch your face safely if you wash them every 2 seconds anyway. Um,
Mhm.
think of a headset. It touches your nose, it touches the area around your eyes, it certainly touches yours. And if it's in a public place where somebody else has tried it on or used it,
Oh,
you
no
know,
way.
uh, yeah, well, exactly. And when it does the, they say, oh, that we're hygienic here. So what do? It to a wet cloth and rub it down after one person's used it, and then give it to somebody else. No way. That's not disinfecting, and that's not doing enough. A quick wipe down is not doing enough to get rid of this virus. So out of home VR, forget it.
Forget it. Yeah.
Yeah. And also be careful with your in home VR for that matter. If you have a friend come round and lend them your headset, well, actually, I suggest you probably don't. But if you do, you just make sure you sterilize it properly afterwards before you use it again yourself. Just think, you know. But that's not to stop you loading VR on a flat computer screen, because that is still fun. And, the only thing you touch half the time is your keyboard and mouse. And you can, as long as you keep washing your hands every 5 minutes, you're probably safe doing that. Moving on, moving on.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Springboard VR is launching into education, and yes, bringing infected headsets to a classroom near you. I really shouldn't say that, but what the hell? These people needed to be, these people need to be reminded sometimes of just how inappropriate that suggestion is at the moment. So that's at virtualityreporter.com. By the way, Virtuality Reporter seems to be obsessed with sex. Um, there are endless posts every day, and most of it is about call girls and brothels and haptic devices that allow you to have sex with each other and things. They do have some regular news like this, but only since I've been getting a full RSS feed from them do I realise what their obsession is, and it's quite relevant. You know, it's not a porn site or something like that. But you know, every new sex related product that comes online whether it's haptic toys like special objects that can be used in real life or virtual environments, etc. They're on it like a flash. Um, yeah, I bet Maria Koloff goes to that site a lot. Sorry.
I don't think she would go to it. She would analyze it, and she would
She'd get
research.
she used to get very excited about those sites,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
But yeah,
Only because they were financially amazing. They generate profit like nothing else.
yeah. I'll shut up. I'll shut up.
All right. Just
There's an educator called Philippe Took who actually started Virtual World's Best Practice in Education too, and
oh yeah.
I'm listening to hear her talk about her first days in virtual worlds and Second Life is just hilarious. But it's sex, sex, sex all the way.
Hmm.
You know how I got into this and how I ended up there, and I guess first days or whatever. Okay, now I haven't brought them all up here. Loads of Voices of VR podcasts this week. Voicesofvr.com. 891. I think this is the very first one, March the 10th. I mean, there must have been about 20 different podcasts here during the week. I'm not sure why, but this site, it has so many podcasts now. There's maybe two a day, but they don't actually put them up every day now. I think he goes out and he does them all, collects them all together, and then gets back home and actually uploads about 40 at once. So there are masses of up this week, and many of them were done at the Sundance Film Festival as well. This particular one is about Al Jazeera using VR and AR to explore life under incarceration and still here. And let's see. Yeah, this is looking at the South and mass incarceration, erasure, gentrification in Harlem. It's a room scale AR tablet experience. But anyway, that is just one of many podcasts, Voices of VR.com this week. So just go to that website and see what's available too. Yeah, of the sheer wealth of stuff there, if you're interested in VR or virtual worlds, the chances are there's at least one in those 40 or so that will be of interest to you. Right. The ghost towels again. So this is scarredghost.com as before, SKARREDGHOST.com, scarredghost.com. And the XR Week Peak. Basically, it's just his weekly look at everything that's been going on. It's dated March the 9th, so well, when would that have been? Monday, Monday, I think it was. Yeah. So just looking at everything, if you want somewhere to go to read out about a whole lot at once, as you can see, um, covering everything from actual valve releases through to what the coronavirus is doing, etc., etc. Oculus newsworthy. Oh yeah. Yes. Apparently this has already started. Quick switch to my other
Yeah.
window
What
there.
is that?
See, am I
Okay.
not clever?
That was
Am I
good.
not clever? Yeah.
Seamless.
Ah. Facebook Horizon is something we have covered before. This is Facebook's attempt at virtual world. Well, apparently, it's now in private beta. They actually have people using it. Um, it's they're anticipating a launch, the journalists that is, in 1 to 2 months. And coincidentally, that's the exact period when F8 would have taken place. That's a Facebook conference that's now been cancelled. And I may be interesting if, for example, the this F8 thing in April or May or whenever it is actually happens virtually, if it actually happens in Horizon, or whether Facebook actually end up going to one of the more established virtual worlds, we will actually see, no doubt, when the time comes. So put that away again. Got a smaller one here. Ongoing closed round, beta round of Facebook Horizon. And yeah, what else have they got in that news? HoloLens 2 is now being used by the Army. That's the US Army. Um, Pico Neo 2 is going for sale. Nreal adds hand tracking to its AR glasses. I think this is all stuff that would actually have been on our post last week. VR will change how we watch sports. Um, yeah, scanning down there as you can see. Um, yeah. Anyway, a fair old stuff there. So scarredghost.com back on Mondays seems to be the day he publishes the roundup blog. But as we saw earlier, quite a few other interesting posts there too, from time to time. All right. Uh, right. This is a site called Futurithmic. Right. FUTURITHMIC.com. And well, what it says really, your voice will unlock the magic of XR. This is Alice Benasio writing, and it's quite a symbolic sort. I quite like that graphic in its way. Right. Should you be any doubt about Arthur C. Clarke's third law, the one that states that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, just try a HoloLens 2 experience where you can tell the holograms what to do. Um, if you walk away from that without feeling a bit weird, like a wizard or witch casting, whatever, there is something fundamentally satisfying, almost primal, about watching a world change as you command it, like lucid dreaming. Right. I don't. Right. I think this is a sort of article about putting two and two together, kind of things. In other words, I don't think that a system exactly exists yet. We have the holograms, we have voice control, but we don't have the two together. I think a lot of interesting stuff was in here anyway. As somebody who's always interested in the interfacing side of things, um, well, graphically, I have to say, there's never been any cause in previous decades to worry about voice control.
Mm-hmm.
It's a comparatively new thing, but of course, increasingly we might be. Um, I suppose it's a bit like being in a room with all these dumb so-called smart devices, where but one doesn't know what the other one's doing, and you get into a hell of a pickle. You tell one to do something, it won't do it. You ask the other one to do it, it does it, but then the other one catches up, and everything answers the phone at once. I can quite see being in a virtual world, and like here in OpenSim and in Second Life and places, we have an inbuilt voice system for talking to each other and spatial audio and everything else. And we also have audio for music. For example, you can embed music into objects like our friend Dizzy Banjo used to do to create sound environments where sound fades in and out by distance, and depending on the direction you're going to a different instrument. So, stand in the middle of the room and you hear a soundtrack, but as you move to one corner, you get more brass instruments. If you move to the other corner, you get more keyboard, and move to the other corner, you get more strings, and yeah, that percussion on the other corner. So yeah, the actual balance, the mix of the sound you're hearing changes as you move. Well, if you add voice control interfacing to that mix, we're going to get in and eventually be in a pickle. I mean, are you talking to the interface, telling it to walk you forward, or are you telling somebody standing by you, side of you, to walk forward? you know, Things like that. I mean, you can easily see a pretty big conflict. I mean, eventually, I suppose people invent their own laws just like we do in real life. There just would be no point in saying a thing in a certain context, whereas the would in another. But I don't know. It's. Now, where's that picture of my down the rabbit hole gone?
I don't know. I was wondering.
Oh, it's there. It's there. We are back. Yes, folks, we are back. Here.
It's all right.
Yeah, right, okay. So looking at the future of voice and everything else. So anyway, she's a very good writer and very up to date in her information. Alice Benacia there. Actually, that was written on February 28th, so that's a late posting of that one. But Voice Unlocking the Magic of XR, and you'll find that at futurrhythmic.com. futurrhythmic.com. So as we put that one away, and oh, we're back to where we started, an advert for an online conference.
Oh yeah.
Yay! At least it is online, June the 1st to 3rd. Now, we'll come back here. It's slightly the wrong size there, isn't it? So zoom out a bit. Oh, right, there we are. Oh, that's major. Right. Um, we mentioned it earlier. That is just simply the logo, the placard, as it were, for the Virtual World's Best Practice Education Conference for 2020. The theme is stellar, hence stars. And the dates there, March 26th, 27th, 28th. That's a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's not next weekend. It's the weekend after that, effectively. But about 10, not this coming Thursday, but the Thursday after is the actual start of that. What else have I got here? Oh, we're talking about viruses. This would probably make more sense to people in Britain. Hannah Berry tweeted, "A virus that will wipe out a huge number of vulnerable people whilst overwhelming the National Health Service and causing people to isolate themselves from society is the most Tory thing I've ever heard." Tory being the Conservative Party.
Oh goodness.
In
Okay.
other words, written like that, it is very much, it's almost a plot. What we got here? Yeah, this one's about that chap in America. Chap's the wrong word. It's not even sure it's human, but it's something or other, isn't it? There we are. The coronavirus is quite likely to be the Trump presidency's inflection point, when everything changed, when the bluster and ignorance and shallowness of America's 45th president became undeniable, an empirical reality as indisputable as the laws of science or a mathematical equation. I hope so.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, here's a pretty. This is an experiment. I clipped a few things in the week, thinking, right, let's see if I can do something with these on the show.
Hmm.
There we are again. This is no one for Britain, really. A major fault in the suggestion that the police should be able to detain anyone carrying the COVID-19 virus is that all community testing has been halted. How exactly do police prove that somebody has the virus without testing them? Does this mean anyone with a sniffle can be collared? And that post was not by Edward Lee MP. It was about the proposals being made by that chap. Anyway, that. Oh, hang on, current resources. Okay. Oh yes, that was Krista's talk from. No, no, we don't need to be playing around with my pictures anymore. We know that it works, so look for more of that in future weeks. Right. Metaworld and News, which is our other Twitter feed. Um, Interesting. Um, okay, there really actually seems to be only one post this week. The others, the ones we covered last week. This is actually a site called vrevents.io, and it basically is a place to look up events happening in VR. Um, ho- oh yeah, this is VR with a headset more than anything else. Although some of them are actually things you can get to on the web. I'll give you an idea. I've uploaded it now. This is actually it starts today basically because it the latest things are at the top. Um, St. Patrick's Day shopping event over in Sansar, which is the Linden Labs platform. That you can do that without a headset. Neos VR is having a creator jam. building words together. I forget whether that is a headset or not. Alt Space, which is very dominant in this list. Interview with a community helper, and let's see, Alt Space, something called Center Stage. In let me see, 9 p.m. This is literally about an hour's time, I think. Doc Salon. This is Dr. Fran's thing, which used to be in High Fidelity. It's now officially in Project Athena, but you still get there by using the old High Fidelity client and following the particular link to get to it. It's no longer a High Fidelity server; it's independent. Um, okay, Science Space has music with DJ Rosa. Alt Space, Flight Time. Alt Space also tonight have a UK meetup. Everyone welcome. That's about 10:30 tonight. Um, uh, once, well, actually, I imagine there's going to be more of this with the virus going round. I really, I actually prefer politics out of virtual worlds, but I certainly don't like them being used for religious evangelism. It's like the old missionary era all over again. God, virtual reality, brave new frontier to pass the message on to. But Alt Space anyway has a church going on, and Alt Space also positively invisible, chronic invisible, positive support group for those living with chronic health conditions, etc. VR's Got Talent. That's some kind of show or other. Alt Space again. Interview with a community helper in Alt Space, and then that's it for today. Then you've got like tomorrow, Monday. Um, Interesting to just flip down this to see if there's anything interesting happening in the week that doesn't come through from through the other channels. But yeah, learn Unity development. That's in Alt Space. Rise of the virtual beings. That's in Alt Space. St. Patrick's Day event. Sansar and educators in VR. Right, that's on Tuesday. These are various talks in Alt Space that have been happening since the Educators in VR conference um, about building worlds in Alt Space. Artist Corner, Alt Space again. Come on, is there anything other than Alt Space down here? Yeah. Echo VR, Echo Arena Pickup Night. Don't know about that. Um, Open Mic in Sansar. Um, Well, it's an interesting site, as you can see. VR events, or one word, .io. Worth looking in on. Unfortunately, the site doesn't actually have an RSS feed, so I'm not able to just get them coming into a feed. It's one of these you have to log in to the web page. You don't have to join or anything, but you just log in and read the events. It'd be much more helpful if there's an RSS feed that we could put into Discord or something, but not to be. Right, what else did I have here? Um, oh yeah, Open Simulator Past and Present. That was the one that went with um, Krista's picture, but it doesn't load. So yeah, that is it. We are Dunnity Dum Duns
Mm.
for the week. So James, there must be something in that lot to get you going.
Well, sure, sure. It's the work from home ideas. I mean, it's not new, but the virus has made it, obviously very important. What I think is interesting for uh, virtual worlds and virtual reality headsets is, really what are the use cases? What are the things you need to do? And our staff was told to not come into work. We have a staff of about 38 people at the university where I work, and I created a document that basically said, here's what you do when you're in the office. Here's how you can do it at home. And so,
Right.
I did have a conversation in the hallway. So I said, let's use some instant messaging for that and some video conferencing from that. Um, manage and store your files. We use a VPN, virtual private network, for that.
Right.
A variety of cloud things, but VR just didn't really come into it. We use web meetings when we have large groups. But I think
Mm,
what the whole work for home and VR really needs to do is they do need to identify what are the practical things about VR. what do you really accomplish in VR that you don't accomplish in a video meeting? And that's not very clear yet, in my mind.
I think it depends by platform. I mean, I, for example, have a very complex desktop system on my Mac where
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I must have spent 2 days this week just configuring things, which mostly because of the idea of being isolated, but in fact, there's stuff that because of the way I work, I've already got set up for the most part, collaboration groups online and stuff like that. Nothing particularly to do with virtual worlds, and but really, in my case, I don't really care, there's some people that if something's online, they call it virtual. Not virtual reality, but virtual.
Mm-hmm.
Because the things I use most heavily are Discord and Slack, and also I've also set up privately because my Slack one is now an individual Slack, not a group, um, which I pay for. I mean, I've got a lot of integration so that the information from all the other portals I use comes into Slack, so I can see everything in one place, even though it's coming in from different places. And then there's the obligatory newsreaders, that pull stuff in for me. Um, so if I want to keep tab on a list of events, I don't want to necessarily be in world somewhere and pull up an events list. I want to know about it, without being in world. I love having Radagast open, which is a text client for Second Life, which keeps me logged in there and allows me to get text messages from people I know in there, and letting me know there's an event on. But I'm not actually in there, and I won't necessarily go in there just for an event. But if an event comes along that I'm keen on, then I would do it. So it's not really a matter of getting into a virtual space and hanging out there. There have been virtual spaces online, I've got to admit. Not very well. Wonderland was one of them, where basically any room you were in was a web browser, a media player, and everything else. So the idea was instead of just going into your browser, you would walk into a room and access various types of media and web pages from the walls of your room. Um, that was a nice idea, but the limitation, you'll suddenly come on a limitation of what you can do. It's a bit like in here, we can put web pages on prims, but we don't have an easily accessible web viewer that well, actually, we can put one on the HUD and use that as a viewer, but somehow it's sort of cumbersome when you can have something that's really quick and fast open on your desktop at the side.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so to me, it's a combination of things. What I like doing, and like we're doing the show now, is as you've heard, I don't always look at the window here and get my notice about being logged out or stuff. I managed to do it today, but if I had my way, I'd be looking at the screen like I'm doing now, seeing your avatar and my avatar, and I'm talking to both of us, if you see what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm in that space with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When I'm actually reading the news, I've got well, it's not exactly my back, but I'm turned the other way. I'm looking at the Mac screen, which is, well, it's more than 45 degrees away. It's a different direction. And that's configured so I can get everything I need up at a moment's notice, and it's also got stuff on it I'm screen sharing with you as part of the show. So all that sort of goes together, and just it's not just when I'm doing this show, but in many other circumstances, it's the same. I go in World for a meeting. Back in before the best OpenSync Community Conference, for example, which you were involved in too, we would often be in Slack or in Discord. No, not Slack, in Discord or in World, in World Voice, and we'd be asking to open Google Docs at the same time, and there was a whole load of things. And to me, actually, if I didn't have about six screens on my desk, I would find that very awkward. But actually, I mean, to me, I only need the immersive environment on one. And as you say, there are occasions when you don't need it at all. It's just nice to have some kind of communication with it so you can load it if you need it. Um, I noticed, on this machine that's running at the moment, I'm in Firestore with OpenStim doing this show. I've obviously got Discord open too for the audio and to pass notes between us, but I've also got in my tray the legacy sandbox part of high fidelity. So I'm still getting messages, in my notifications telling me who's in world in high fidelity, or rather in the high fidelity subsystem as it is now. So, if I see a thing saying, chaos is in Greenland or something right now, then if I'm in the mood, I can quickly log into high fidelity and join her. In fact, I think I can do it from the notifications. It will just launch the high fidelity interface. So it's things like that that make it for me. That old point. Um, so what do people call it? Like not a war. Like a multiple workstation, a war room or something. They can
Hmm. Command center.
all these streams of information and empowerment available to me. And I spend most of my time trying to minimize it all, not so much as put it away, but connect everything together so that I can get a hell of a lot very simply and very fast.
Hmm.
And the ability to jump at a moment's notice into a virtual space for a meeting or entertainment is part of that setup, as it were. But I don't want a virtual world open on my screen all day long. It doesn't hurt if it is. I mean, I can minimize it and forget it's there, but it doesn't necessarily serve any purpose. The idea of spending 8 hours a day in a virtual world, doing a bit of this and a bit of that, doesn't really appeal to me anymore. Then, to me, these worlds are not ubiquitous, but to people like me, they are. I'm so familiar with them that I I can't really. There's less opportunity and excitement in doing the stuff there because everything seems to be something I've already done. So it really does need to be a spectacular piece of entertainment or very interesting conference or talk or a particular arts event or whatever to draw me in. Occasionally, I haven't done it recently because my personal server is down, but I used to actually just to relax, I put some music on and go into the Metaworld simulator and actually just do some landscaping and planting flowers and trees and stuff. But that was like a meditation process, as it were, just to, you know, relax and chill out doing that and listening to some kind of music. So it's useful for that, and it has nothing to do with work. Well, not really entertainment. It's like an art hobby, to make an environment that you feel comfortable walking around in, and don't really care what other people think. Anyway, I better get the rabbit hole picture up again, hadn't I?
Yep.
Hello.
Yep. It would be a
What you got?
rabbit hole for sure.
Yeah,
The
what you got?
thing as you were talking, I was thinking about what the conventional tools for meeting are. They're really about tasks and projects, and what
Yeah,
VR is about experiences. And so, what experiences do you need to share at work, right?
yeah.
And I'm as happy to get away from work as soon as possible. So maybe I don't want to share an experience in VR with work. I just focus on the tasks with my Slack and my email and my VPN
I
folders.
think uh, I think there is something to be said for that. I mean, I know a lot of people in the workplace, over the last 20 years or so, it'd be their first contact with computers. They didn't used to have home computers, so people gradually used to get used to a graphical desktop, which was almost certainly the Microsoft version of something usable, which isn't. Um, they get used to a mouse, they get used to a keyboard, even if traditionally they've never learned to type. Things like that grow on people. And, then eventually everybody's getting a home computer. And so eventually they get one. It will almost certainly be a Windows one. I'm talking about a certain kind of person here, really. And they know how to use it. I have one friend in particular who finally got a laptop and she didn't like it really, but she wouldn't do anything on it that she hadn't learned to do back when she was working because she'd gone retired basically. So everything was down to email and a web browser, and she took the work skills home with her, but probably used them for a slightly different function. In other words, you use email at work to mail work colleagues or work letters, basically. You use email at home to mail your friends and keep in contact with your friends. But the skill is actually the same. It's just that depending on where and when you are, the focus is a bit different. So I don't think it's impossible that um, we used to get this with not with teens used to log in to Second Life, and which used to have that sort of teen grid, you know, and they thoroughly, they were meant to go to school classes and things there, and that was very much like school or like work. And they might actually be, there might be a firewall that doesn't allow them to teleport out or whatever, keeps them in the classroom. So at the end of the day, the firewall is lifted and they can jump wherever on the grid they want. And so it becomes a different, even though they're on the same platform, they're moving from the work environment out into the exploratory thing of go to a concert or go to your home and invite some friends round and play some virtual cards or whatever. So they can connect. And I'm very much like that. I like to have everything on and available all the time, even if it's things I'm not using at the given moment, because in the given hours of the day and the time of day, the things I want and are using will actually change. The important thing is I can pull them all up at a whim as I need to, Um, but I can see what you're saying is that, in the work environment, you're using particular software. And when you get home, that is software that almost bores you to tears because you use it at work and you don't want to use it when you get home. Basically, I think that's what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah,
Although
and just
now, presumably,
I think we're still struggling to find the compelling use case for VR at work.
yeah. And you mean,
Conferences are uh,
yeah.
a great use for VR.
Now, when you say a compelling use for VR, are you talking about hardware and helmets, or are you talking about virtual spaces?
I'm talking about it all. I would say all
Yeah.
options, and um, there's just if someone says, okay, let's do a meeting and look at my slides, it's so much overhead to get people into a Second Life or anything where they have avatars. They don't need them. All I got to do is see your
Yeah.
slides and speak my voice and type my
Oh,
text.
yeah. Yeah. That's true. I mean, I think we're looking at conferences like the one coming in 10 days or something. Then
Hmm.
it might be very boring and but apparently seemingly silly, which I'd actually agree with, to watch somebody talking with a PowerPoint presentation behind them in the virtual world. When you'd think, oh well, this could easily be done with a voiceover, a slideshow on the web, and very quick. But the thing is, after it's over, you can get up from your seat and wander around and move to something else, and you have choices of direction.
Hmm.
So you go out one door and you go to an exhibition, you go out another door, you go to a small lecture hall or something like that. And the fact that you're already in the environment makes that maneuvering, as it were, a lot easier. But if, as you say, it's just for one thing, you don't want to go into Second Life to share PowerPoint. What? Why?
Hmm.
When you've already got your colleagues, you can use ScreenLeap here or any number of other things, Slack or Discord. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's tools for the job, really. I mean,
Hmm.
back in the old days of Second Life, I forget what it was. I forget. Some people called themselves the augmentalists, and somebody else called it. It's like it's the escapists.
Transhumanists.
No, no, it's like escapists or something.
Hmm.
There was a perceived divide between the people who were running away into Second Life like a game. Immersionist, I think they was called, and yeah, that was it. Immersionist and was the ones who ran away to escape into it, and augmentalist being the people that used it as part of their online environment. And in other words, everything we've ever designed in computers and whatever since the computer age began, really, the computer isn't meant to be running you. You're meant to be using the computer. So to me, everything is a tool, and you combine them and create an environment where all these tools including in virtual spaces, are available to you, and you use them for what you want. The big problem, and I think a large fault of this is the manufacturers of operating systems and social networks, is they're deciding what they think we want, and they're putting that onto us. So we have no choices. We interact with our Windows the way Microsoft wants us to. We interact with the Mac the way Apple wants us to. Um, we we we're losing the ability to access the tools the way we want them because we're increasingly given frames and portals, as it were, to get at the things we want, and those things are actually almost hijacking us from intention. Once you're trapped in a Facebook, right? You actually lose access to a whole load of stuff, but you don't think you do because they're conning you into clicking another button here and there and everywhere whilst you're inside the Facebook portal. Um, you can't just hop in and out. Well, you can quit Facebook and move on to something else if you know what you're doing. But increasingly, these diversions are preoccupying us. Whereas what we should have is a screen full or even a virtual room full of tools that we can use as we want them. And we should be more free thinking about what we want to do and what tools are available to do them. And obviously, some tools are shared because, as you say, you have a work group in something like Slack, so everybody needs to have Slack. But um, you know, I, d- I'm very much the augmentalist. I'm not an immersionist per se. Obviously, immersion is a good thing, and in certain circumstances, the degree of immersion is important, and the more the better. But fundamentally, I'm one of those good old augmentalists. Right.
All right. That's three rabbit holes I took you down at the end, so that's
I
enough.
know. I'm expecting you to interrupt and open up the conversation.
Oh, no, no, I
Except
don't.
I keep having to say, "Hey, James, what do you think of that then?"
Right.
Okay,
Right.
that's fair enough. Fair enough. It's one gets a bit weary at the end of this, so it's like sleep talking, slow
Oh,
sleeping.
okay. All right. Stream of
Yeah,
consciousness.
yeah, that stuff. Yeah, true. Right, so there we are. Down the rabbit hole and off
Ha.
line. Off.
Right.
See, that's me, and I'm just about to head offline. Yeah.
Yep.
So, okay, well, I hope you've enjoyed the news, folks. We will be back same time, same place next week, or well, same time and same place being YouTube. And you can always watch us on YouTube throughout the week, of course. Do remember those. Find the links to our programs again at twitter.com/malburns or twitter.com/metaworld news. And thanks to James for being here and doing his bits.
Yep.
And yeah, well, it's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from him.
The other him being me. Yes. And so it's goodbye from the two of us. And hope you have a good week. Stay away from those germs. Wash your hands. And don't touch anybody else's headset, etc., etc. But try and have a good one. Okay. Bye for now.